Включаем микрофон, отключаем камеру. Спасибо большое за понимание.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, good evening for those of you joining from the world. I want to welcome you to the panel number 4 on day 3 of the 10th anniversary Central Asia Trade Forum. My name is Nikolai Armov. I'll be the moderator of this morning's session. And prior to moving with the agenda and with the program today, I would like to read a couple of announcements, technical announcements for the audience, so you know basically how the technical procedures will follow. This event is being recorded, so you'll be able to view it at the end of each day at the forum website or on YouTube. All participants are muted to avoid disruptions, and simultaneous translation is available during the event. Please look at the little globe sign down here at the bottom of the Zoom screen, and you can choose audio feed you would like to listen to. Please note that this function works only in Zoom application environment. For those of you who cannot download the application, you would rather use the browser version of Zoom, there is a separate YouTube channel in English and Russian which you can follow, and our technical team will drop a link in the chat box below on where you can access the broadcasted video. So without further ado, let's introduce the topic of today's session is growing business connectivity between Central Asia and Afghanistan. Central Asia governments are now engaging in talks to increase regional economic cooperation, including trade and investment links with Afghanistan. USAID and other donors are actively supporting these discussions with cross-border B2B training and other activities to enhance a greater business connectivity among the region. This panel today, this session, we have AmCham business leaders and member representatives from across the region, including AmCham Afghanistan, who will be discussing the joint opportunities for cross-border partnerships and investments and the impediments they see in front to be overcome. The American Chamber of Commerce is the leading international business association in the region that seeks to create a favorable and competitive business environment conducive to private sector growth. Fostering business development, job creation, attracting foreign investments, and promoting broader public-private dialogue are just few of the immediate activities that the association is evolving and steering towards its members. I don't know whether you're aware, but AmCham is the American Chamber of Commerce is the largest business organization association in the world, representing companies of all sizes across every sector of the economy. Currently, there are more than 400 members represented cumulatively here in our regional network group. And with this, I'm pleased to welcome our panelists here. I will give the floor to each and every one of you to present briefly yourselves. I would suggest to start with the ladies first. So Tatiana Bestrushkina from AmCham Uzbekistan, Executive Director, please join the floor.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Welcome to this panel session. And we traditionally were waiting for the Central Asian Trade Forum because all regional AmChams traditionally participate in the different forums in the CAT, and it's an amazing platform to share opinions and improve business and legal aspects of doing business in the Central Asia. Nikolai, do you want me to present myself or briefly talk about the chamber as well?
Couple of words for the chamber, maybe saying a couple of words about who are your members, what type of sectors are represented, companies that you have in your membership.
Yes, my name is Tatiana Bestrushkina, and I'm Executive Director of the American Chamber of Commerce, the International Association of the International Business. Even though we are called the American Chamber of Commerce, indeed we are international because Most of the multinational corporations are members of the AmCham. So the members are so big names like Coca-Cola, Antal, Microsoft, and along with local companies. AmCham in Uzbekistan was actually the first American Chamber of Commerce registered in the region back in 1997. And the founding members were like Coca-Cola, Chevron, Texaco, White and Case. And as we see through this more than 20 years, those companies are still here on the ground in the country, doing business. And as mentioned, they are the members of the AmCham. As for the membership, it's split between the multinational business and local companies with a ratio about 40 to 60. Since the introduction of the reforms in Uzbekistan in 2016, we see that the international business presence is growing. Like before, it was about like 50-50 local to international companies. And now it's 60+% of the companies are international. We see huge interest from the companies like Mars Corporation, like Nestle, like Oracle, I don't know, and those in the FMCG and IT sector, and because they are watching the market. As for the sectors of the economy, most of the companies are in the consulting. By the consulting, I mean the lawyers, I mean the tax and accounting, advisory, and those big names like Big Four companies are represented in the membership, like PwC, Ernst & Young, Deloitte, along with Big 10 like Crowe, Grant Thornton, and many others. And the size of business varies from the turnover starting from the $10,000 US annually to, I don't know, 100 millions. And the number of people employed with our members varies from like 5 to 25,000. Like the big names like General Motors, British American Tobaccos, those are also the patron members of the American Chamber of Commerce in Uzbekistan, and they also constitute the board of directors. Hopefully it's enough. Like I can talk about membership forever, but I think I should stop at a certain point.
Let's leave some space for the others. And I would like to invite now Nazira Beishenlieva, the chairwoman of the board of AmCham in the Kyrgyz Republic.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Good morning, dear colleagues. It's a pleasure to, on behalf of AmCham today, to make a brief information about our platform. So let me share the screen. I prepared some presentation.
That's good.
So totally, in Kyrgyzstan, we have over 100 business associations, and the AmCham is a top leading business association in Kyrgyzstan. So this year we are turning 15 years. We were founded in 2005 as a part of the largest international business organization, the US Chamber of Commerce. As Nikolai mentioned, which represents the interest of more than 3 million companies. So we have plus 80 company members, and the AmCham represented by over 80 companies promoting and protecting the interest of both local businesses in the international arena, as well as foreign companies in Kyrgyzstan. In carrying out its activity, AmCham serves as the connecting link between business persons, politicians, investors, for the purpose of achieving win-win solutions. So more than 50 events are organized every year for AmCham member companies and the other business representatives and the business associations. Regarding corporate management, 7 leading and the big companies are represented in the board of directors. 75 companies, which is 30% of members, actively involved in AmCham 3 committees. We have Entrepreneurship Development and Investment Committee. We have Innovation, Digital and Information Technology Committee, and the Construction and Real Estate Market Committee. About the AmCham members by sectors, they are divided as following. So the biggest amount, 18% of our members represented by construction sector. 13% are international organizations, 11% consulting, 10% represented by IT companies, and 7% banking, tourism and HoReCa, health and beauty, and the others. So as an association, of course, we are members of different platforms where we advocate and protect the interest of our members. We are a member of Business Development and Investment Council under the government of Kyrgyz Republic. We are member of the Council for the Development of Business and Entrepreneurship under the Törögha of Georgo Kengesh. It's a parliament of Kyrgyz Republic. We are a member of Supervisory Board under the Business Ombudsman of the Kyrgyz Republic, member of Economic Diplomacy Advisory Group under Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Kyrgyz Republic, and a member of MCM Working Group under Minister of Economy. I will not say and name all the events, but we have some projects that we are really proud of, and we do it in the region, probably only single MCM. So we conduct tours to Silicon Valley. Generally, during the 3 years, from 2016 up to 2019, we have conducted 8 business tours to Silicon Valley, and more than 100 entrepreneurs from Kyrgyzstan visited leading IT companies, and they learned the corporate culture, strategy building. Also, MCM business tour to Czech Republic and Germany brought 16 business men to Czech Republic and Germany, and the 12 business business people, they participated in the business tour to Georgia. So these are our events, and we also issue and publish our annual magazine, which is called Business Insight, and our monthly newsletters. For the last 3 years, MCM actively promote innovation and technology in the Kyrgyz market. Thank you.
Thank you, Nazira. Very, very good presentation. As you can see, AmChams are very active, not only in the region, but more globally. I would now turn to Sharaf Davlatov, our representative from AmCham, Tajikistan.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sharaf Davlatov, and I'm Executive Director of AmCham Tajikistan. And AmCham Tajikistan is a comparatively new institution founded in 2008 by 2 local companies, and including Tethys Petroleum. AmCham Tajikistan has currently have 40+ members, consisting of hospitality, banking, consulting, manufacturing, telecom, and civil aviation, and other industries. Like as our market is comparatively small in regards to our neighbors, as Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan. So the local membership consists of 25% of our members. So our board of directors consists of like 11 companies, and we are mostly doing policy advocacy. We're doing networking events. We are doing also investment interaction, trade forums, and all other activities that AmCham needs to do in the region. It's pretty kind of a small introduction, short one.
Yeah, thank you, Sharaf. Small but active. That's the most important part. Okay. Last but not least, we do have a representative from AmCham Afghanistan. We have Sanzar Kakar, who is the board member of AmCham Afghanistan. I hope we can see you, Sanzar, or it's just audio?
It's just audio right now, but I'm happy to provide an introduction for Afghanistan.
Okay, go ahead, with pleasure. We can hear you.
Sure. So AmCham Afghanistan was established in 2010, and we were the 100th AmCham in the world joining the global body. So we have a free membership, which is been very easy to recruit members currently right now. We have over 500 companies that are now part of AmCham Afghanistan. Most of them are Afghan companies that are working with US companies, but we have about 40 major US firms that are working in Afghanistan. They're working to support either the US military or the US development efforts in Afghanistan right now. We hold online events, of course, now due to COVID, but typically our events and meetings are held at the US Embassy in Kabul. And the US Embassy has been extremely supportive of our efforts to make sure that we have a place and we have a body. The ambassador is given the honorary chairman title of the AmCham. And so we have frequent events with the ambassador, either in his apartment at the embassy or in the public space that's there. And given that we have that high level representation, the AmCham in Afghanistan has access to not only the US government, in terms of advocacy, but also to the high reaches of the Afghan government. So we're frequently called upon on large donor meetings, on high-level ministerial meetings, on many different areas to represent the private sector in Afghanistan and try to bring a voice to the issues that are needed. So we prepare frequently different papers and strategies in order to advise the government, and they take it very seriously, and very often many of those suggestions are implemented in reforms for the private sector. More recently, we are now working to try to promote more US investment into Afghanistan. As you might have heard from the news, the military presence in Afghanistan is decreasing. We have fewer and fewer troops that are going to be there. There was an announcement yesterday that the troops are going to go from 4,500 to 2,500. And usually with that, the private sector also decreases because there's a great need for companies to support the military presence in Afghanistan, particularly the US support. And we're trying to encourage those companies to convert over to support the public and support private sector initiatives outside the US military presence. So we will be having a networking session in Washington, DC in January next year to speak to US companies directly to attract them and to retain them in Afghanistan in different presences, maybe focusing on mining, focusing on public services, focusing on security, so they can continue their work in Afghanistan. And for that reason, we also want to connect with all other regional AmChams so we can see, hey, there's American companies doing other things, working in agriculture, working in telecommunications, working in other ways as well. So we look forward to working with all the AmChams to strengthen that connection with American businesses worldwide.
Excellent. Yeah, that's the goal of this this regional network, is really to get a chance to exchange and to connect the members, not only American companies, but all the international investors, donors, and the local companies. One quick question, Sanzar. You said your membership is free. What does it mean free? You don't have a membership fee, or that's how you started?
We used to have membership fee, but currently we don't have any membership fee.
Okay.
So you can apply and join, and if you're accepted, you'd be part of the general membership body.
Okay.
That's currently how we've structured it. Yeah.
Super. Thank you. Okay, let's dive into questions. And for the audience, if you have a question, if you do have want to address the panelists, please type your questions in the Q&A box down in the Zoom. So at some point we'll be able to introduce your question. My first question to the panelists is, where do you see the biggest opportunities for the regional economic cooperation in the next couple of years after the post-COVID recession is over? Where do you see those opportunities for business to business, for cross-border exchange, for partnerships? And again, I'll turn the floor to the ladies first. So Tatiana, maybe you could lead.
Yes, sure, thank you. For the regionalism, we know that Uzbekistan official priority agenda is integration to the region, and President Mirziyoyev announced it is among top 5 priorities when he took over the power in 2016. And immediately we went into the action, applied for the WTO. Now there are talks that we are joining the Eurasian Economic Union, but the big emphasis is done to this regional cooperation without, let's say, superpowers. And we see that the region with a population of 70+ million people is very attractive for investors and for cooperation. But given the per capita income in the countries is relatively small, with an exception of Kazakhstan, and it's basically $1,500 per year, which is, of course, the biggest opportunities we see is in the mass market sector, FMCG, pharmaceuticals, and what we recently see within the last 2 years, we see that the huge interest from these companies toward the country and towards the region. I will give you 2 examples. Back in last year, in 2019, we organized the first U.S. certified trade mission jointly with the Department of Commerce, U.S. Embassy, and the Ministry of Foreign Investment and Trade. And we brought about 20 American companies particularly interested into the region. And the Procter & Gamble, being the part of the delegation, immediately moved to the country, and they haven't established this presence here yet, but they brought the biggest distributor. The distributor, as the first phase of the operation, created 300 jobs on the drivers, sales, etc. So this is an amazing sector for the government to look at, and even though the government is pushing for the companies to create a manufacturing here, but we all know that the sale comes first, and when the companies are sure that there is like solid legislative base not changing, that there are all the opportunities, they would potentially move the production here. The same, similarly, with let's say in Uzbekistan. In Uzbekistan, the biggest step toward the improvement of the climate was the liberalization of the exchange market, and we see those other companies is in FMCG sector coming to Uzbekistan. Another sector which potentially would be of interest is the energy sector, especially in the renewable energy sector. And we see a lot of the European and American companies interested in the market. And the official program of the country and energy ministry is gradual move towards renewables. It's actively supported by the IFIs. And there are tremendous opportunities for the producers and suppliers of the spare parts or technologies to the US and from all over the world. And we see those companies looking at the market. That's potentially two areas of cooperation.
Excellent. What an example that inviting Procter & Gamble, really, this example shows how really the drive new job creation in the region. Any new opportunities coming from Kyrgyzstan? I know you guys have been through difficult situation recently, but I hope the economy picks up and you'll be able to move steady on the growth path.
Well, I wouldn't pay our attention and our time for discussing our internal political situation, but regarding your question, Nikolai, I agree with Tatiana. I want to start from the history of integration. Without integration, we cannot talk about cooperation. Without this political will, we cannot cooperate. And I will give you some sample. For example, since the collapse of the Soviet Union, all the leaders of these countries, they talk about integration. So in the result, all of these discussions, intergovernmental organizations were established, right? Like Commonwealth of Independent States, like CIS, the Eurasian Economic Community, the Eurasian Economic Union, the Shanghai Cooperation Organizations. But the problem is there, we have always a dominant partner. So we are not equal partners in all of those organizations. So let's look at Central Asia's location as a strategically important land bridge between Europe and Asia. And the region's economic prosperity and the political stability are critical not only for 85 million inhabitants, but also for their neighbors. And nowadays, region are caught between two great powers, as mentioned by Tatiana, by Russia and China. In this regard, there are questions like, can the Central Asian republics cooperate with one another for the region's collective security and economic prosperity? What can these countries to do avoid being marginal players and to have their own voices, at least in the region? These republics are landlocked republics, and during Soviet time, our economies actually were mostly oriented toward Moscow. And this is the reason why we have economic links between the countries were not well established. On the economic side, the volume of economic cooperation between Central Asia countries are still much lower than we trading with another countries. We are more trading and cooperating with the rest of the world rather than within the region. We even do not travel to each other. So in this regard, of course, we have some challenges like shortage of technology or access to the financial instruments. And this is kind of, because of this also the region cannot develop well. So besides this, we have problems like all our strategies are different. These countries' development strategies are different. Also, we have differences in currency. We have different tax and the custom policies. But of course, despite all of these facts, Central Asia should continue its efforts to form a comprehensive regional organization to stimulate economic growth and the political stability, while of course reinforcing sovereignty in the region. And for example, if you ask about the opportunities and the market niche, what I would suggest, and for example, for the last 2 years, I know that I don't promote when I'm invited to the forums to speak about investment opportunities in Kyrgyzstan. I do not talk about Kyrgyzstan. I talk about region. Even as a region, we are not attractive investment destination. But I have researched several reports of World Bank, Asian Development, European EBRD, and figure out the following investment opportunities and the market niche for our region. I think it's a development of private equity funds, mezzanine and venture capital financing mechanisms. I think that insurance market is quite empty. There is an opportunity to develop insurance market. We don't talk about stock market. Stock market, for example, in Kyrgyzstan is sleeping. And now we have Astana International Financial Center. Why don't we have, now we have kind of a financial center and it can become as a regional financial center. And we can use this instrument to promote and to attract foreign direct investment. And of course, it's a leasing of agriculture machinery, since we are mostly agriculture-oriented markets. So opportunities, I think, start from the integration and from the political will. And I believe that within this COVID-19 recession or after post-COVID period, leaders of the region will sit and think about real integration between our countries and in the region. Of course, including Afghanistan.
Very, very good points. Very good points. Thank you, Nazira. Very valid overview, and we should trade more among ourselves. And yeah, this has been a common for a lot of other regions. You tend to trade more with the world and globally than intra-regionally, and this should be developed. Okay, I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions around this. Sharaf, do you want to share your opinion about the future and opportunities you see?
Yeah, thank you. Clearly the COVID-19 related mitigation factors, taking all the digitalization rate will increase for sure. That's the tendency, potential we see, especially we have to work in a better connectivity on the internet side. As you know, Tajikistan has the highest and like price, like the cost for the internet, in the region and maybe in the world even. So the internet price is very, very high, and the quality of internet is very, very slow. So for that, we need to work on the better connectivity of the internet, maybe to explore 5G and other ways to give a stable and work towards like decreasing the cost of the internet as a service, because it's a vital need now, especially after COVID and and it's 21st century. So one of the crucial elements is like to make it more accessible and more use it in more effective way, even for businesses and business to government and government to business and to customers as well. So the digitalization, is a part of it, and as we see, like if we look at the bigger side as well, we need to also for surely promote trade, and financial sector is also like one of the areas that we need to also need to be put and developed, because we have some challenges there as well. So, but why I'm saying that financial sector, because fintech, as we know, during the COVID had a great kind of a big jump, and it showed that its potential, and it's in demand right now, and even even to promote like all the costs and make it easier for people to use and be more financial and tech educated. So, and besides that, as it was mentioned, that we need to also focus on our legal framework, because we have to agree like that on protecting business, not only a certain like jurisdiction, like for one specific country, but in a wider jurisdiction where business can easily be set up, and the field very favorable for now to make sure that business are protected, and not only in one jurisdiction but in a wider regional area. So in that sense, there's a need for probably I know that Kyrgyzstan has an ombudsman, but Tajikistan still doesn't have. So I think the legal platform for businesses, like in terms of security, would be one of the kind of areas that we like is needed for Tajikistan and for Central Asian countries as well, basically. And for sure, as Tatiana mentioned as well, so potential for green energy is another area that Tajikistan needs to move on, because we are resource rich on water. So and there's CASA 1000, and there's a hope that CASA 1000 will bring like positive developments into Tajikistan's like development and in Central Asia as well. And as you know, Tajikistan is currently going through the tax reform, which is very crucial for business and investment attraction. Our tax reform is not currently that business oriented. So, and hopefully there's like a working group under the Minister of Finances working in the area of improving the tax code, so to attract more investment and to encourage like regional businesses and internal businesses to operate more efficiently, and to make them interested to invest in Tajikistan and in the region itself. For tax purposes, Tajikistan. So those are what we're expecting in the upcoming years, as mentioned, 2 years, and AmCham Tajikistan also takes a participation as a business association. We do promote business side, business to promote business voice to be heard at the tax committee. So hopefully we'll have soon in 2021 a better tax code for businesses to feel more protected and to be our tax code more attractive for businesses.
Thank you, Sharaf. Very good points. Business enabling environment and policy dialogue and public-private partnership, I know, are the key elements of the work that the American Chamber of Commerce is promoting and actively involving in the region. And certainly this will be areas where you guys will continue to work into the future. I very much liked your point about regional connectivity includes digital connectivity. This includes financial connectivity and then the rest of the sectors as well. What's the perspective in Afghanistan now with the military fading away, and what are the key sectors that you see developing, Cesar?
Sure. So I'd like to mention three specific sectors. One is the hydrocarbons, so oil and gas. The second is electricity, which was also mentioned, and how that could work more. And the third is fiber, just like Sharaf mentioned as well, in terms of internet. So for the first one, for gas, there's the TAPI pipeline from Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India. It's a $10 billion project to bring gas from the energy-rich countries down to Pakistan and India through Afghanistan. But that also has other opportunities to mine and refine oil and gas inside Afghanistan, because there are resources there. And so with that pipeline, not only can we supply gas to Afghanistan, we can also sell it to Pakistan and India. So there's a huge potential there for companies to support this project. And the Afghan government is not doing it itself. It wants the private sector to help build this pipeline. All the other businesses around that are needed to support this particular industry. And they're actively awarding contracts, mining rights on the ministry's website. So it's open to any country, any company in the world to invest in those mining, refining, and supportive roles for TAPI. For electricity, Sharaf mentioned CASA 1000, which is basically bringing electricity to and from Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan, again, to Afghanistan and Pakistan. And so it's these high tension pipelines. It's a smaller project, 1.8 billion, but the advantages there are that the Afghan government will actively buy an electricity. So if any company wants to set up a hydrocarbon refinery or hydropower in terms of water facility, the Afghan government will pay 30 years in advance in a contract to say, hey, we'll buy at this rate electricity, per kilowatt from you, guarantee it from you for as many years to come. So you can do, yes, renewable energy, you can do water, you can do all different ways, and then sell it to the Afghan government or across the border to our neighbors in the region. So a very valuable project there. And then the last one is internet fiber. So Afghanistan's building a fiber ring around the country in a circle, and it's supposed to connect not only all the provinces of Afghanistan, but also it has these spokes that go out and they connect Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Iran, Pakistan, all of our neighbors as well. And so this is very important because there's a major internet pipeline that's going east and west below Afghanistan, Karachi and in the water below Afghanistan, Iran there. And then there's also a northern one through Russia, east and west. But there's no connectivity between these two pipes. And that's what's causing the increase in cost of internet, like that Sharaf mentioned. So if we can connect these through our countries and through Afghanistan, connect these two big pipelines, these internet highways of the world, if you will, that will dramatically reduce the cost and also increase revenue for the countries because they get to charge basically transit fees, not only for gas and electricity, but also for fiber on these big internet highways. So those three areas, they're open to a lot of investment, and Afghanistan's very open. Any company can come in and get a license to lay fiber if they want. They can get a license to sell electricity if they want. And the rules have become very flexible for these public-private partnerships, even if they're small, even if they're big. And so especially US companies have a great opportunity in that market.
Thank you, Sanzar. Very, very to the point and very concrete there. There are more questions to you coming up right now, but I will leave this for later. And for our viewers and audience, just to keep in mind that there is a Afghanistan separate session following right after our talk today. So for those interested to talk more in the specifics on the Afghanistan development, please stay tuned for the next session. I would like to move to the next question. Right now, we've talked about the opportunities, but certainly there are challenges ahead, and especially with the COVID. And my next question to the panel is, where do you see the biggest, basically the obstacles for the AmCham members when doing business in the region? And how could we overcome these impediments? Where are the obstacles? Whoever wants to answer first, I'll leave it.
Okay, let me traditionally start, and then I promise for the next question I will not be the first. Yes, okay. Just recently, like this summer, we surveyed our members on their perception of the regionalism, and one of the questions was what they see as the biggest obstacle to doing business, and how they see this regionalism improve main points of doing business in Uzbekistan. And all of the business, most of them mentioned that what they hope will improve with an improved regionalism is this improvement of the terms of trade and customs procedures. And indeed, Uzbekistan being not integrated into the region before, because we know that all other countries of the region are members of WTO, and some of them are members of Eurasian Economic Union. That means that they have a harmonized customs tariff and free move of the goods and labor through the customs borders. Uzbekistan, we are just on the beginning of this path, and of course a lot have been improved. We joined the several regional initiatives and business reports that the customs procedures became easier, and with the introduction of the green corridors, when there is a risk assessment for the movement of goods, and this already shortened the period of the customs movement from 8 to 2 days, and the cost per ton of the of the freight moved by $200 to $300. However, it's still our members report that this not harmonized customs tariffs and customs cause a lot of impediments to the regional trade. The second issue that our companies reported was the IPR issues, and those big companies, those things that actually keep the big companies from their presence in Uzbekistan, and I think it's common for the region, is this intellectual property rights enforcement. Even though Uzbekistan joined several international conventions on the intellectual property rights that would potentially facilitate the work of companies such as Microsoft or Oracle, or if we talk about the FMCG sector, the Mars Corporation and Coca-Cola's, still when it comes to the enforcement of those laws, the companies face difficulties, and they spend a lot of their time in their courts here in Uzbekistan. Therefore, we hope that regionalism would, and especially with WTO, there is a tool to settle the dispute, in particular in the sector of the IPR, and we put a lot of hopes on Uzbekistan joining the WTO after all. So we will see more companies like the Oracle, like the Microsoft, like the big technological companies in Uzbekistan. But currently, the big FMCG companies report that up to 50% of all the goods sold in Uzbek market are either counterfeit or lookalike products. So the companies are losing billions of dollars, and they cannot justify to their management, to their headquarters, members that they would potentially open their presence in the country, like as the government wants, the production, the manufacturing. So I think number 2 issue is the IPR. That's what our companies think. And companies also report corruption is the big issue, and it's common for the region, especially corruption at the local government level. We as AmCham in Uzbekistan, we trying to put this issue on the highest level, and we established this policy dialogue with the Ministry of Investment and Trade. So all these issues immediately reported to the ministry. We have a contact person there. Just yesterday, I spent like the evening trying to deliver this message to the ministry, and they immediately tackle it. So the government of Uzbekistan is aware of the problem, and they are fighting this problem. They're trying to settle this issue. We have like several business cases where local government is actually assaulting the business, and they then don't let the business operate in the regions. And we know that Uzbek government making all the possible efforts, and we established this mechanism to fight these practices, bad practices, as well as we established the compliance committee, and we're trying to teach the best practices, especially to the government officials. And there is also, as mentioned, there is business ombudsman in Uzbekistan, as well as recently established 1 year. And just I think in an hour, we are having the meeting of the members of the AmCham with the business ombudsman of Uzbekistan to actually discuss the mechanism of cooperation, how they do this business advocacy. So this was, I mean, there are too many other issues that basically the companies consider impediments to the operations and regional cooperation, including the access to skilled labor and others. But I mean, I will talk about it maybe later. Thanks.
The list is long. The list is long.
Yeah, the list is long, but it's improving.
Okay, thank you very much, Tatiana. I really honor your points, and that's why I like. We have 10 more minutes to go, guys. So I would encourage you to be really concise and brief. But yeah, go to the point. Where are the obstacles, and what are the challenges for the investors here?
Nicola, if you allow, I'm sorry for dropping out. For some reason, I had some problems with the connection.
It's okay.
So we have conducted survey among our Kyrgyz exporters, and the challenges and the obstacles that they met are following. These are border cross delays, and we had huge problem with Kazakhstan last year and this year. Corruption, as it was mentioned by Tatiana. National currency instability. As I mentioned before, we have different currencies in the region. Lack of information, transparency, administrative procedures, export inspection, certification, export licenses, quantitative restrictions, administrative procedures, and the export taxes and the import duties. These are main challenges and obstacles. What are recommendations? Recommendations are improvement of the national quality infrastructure and the quality assurance, strengthening local laboratory capacity for testing and the certification, increasing transparency and simplifying procedures in trade. So these are recommendations.
Thank you. For a banker, that's very to the point. Thank you, Nazir. Very good. Well done. Sharaf, then we move to you. You mute your microphone. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. We'll be very short and concise as the time is pressuring. So our members and like basically businesses in Tajikistan, one of the issues we have is access to the credit, because the high interest loans, because banks cannot provide us like sufficient and allowable, like much more with the lower credit rates, so businesses can operate. It's really hard to businesses to get credit. So it's a legal protection and financial, basically it's security. So the high taxation and irregular regulatory checks. When the regulatory institutions visit businesses in a very short period of time, even though it's not scheduled. So internet, as I mentioned, is a big problem for business to operate here. As Tatiana mentioned, corruption is one of the key impediments for businesses, because they need to deal with it every day. So as for COVID, so just last year, 18,000 businesses, basically small and medium companies, got closed. So that's another very alarming kind of tendency that we have in Tajikistan. And high electricity cost, even though we are water resource rich, so our electricity cost is very high for the companies to operate. These are one of those kind of of many issues that businesses face problems in Tajik market.
Okay, thank you very much. Cesar, moving to you, I will combine this question where the obstacles with there was a question posed on the Q&A drop box there. What would be the AmCham Afghanistan strategy to attract foreign investors while the withdrawal of the US troops? And would this affect the investment and foreign investment to the region? So you may combine your answer with this.
Yes. So I put up these a few slides to explain what the problem is, and also it answers that particular question. I'm going to go through these 3 slides. If you look at the top right, you'll see the total number of US, particularly companies in Afghanistan. So the ones that are military contractors, these are the big companies, Lockheed Martin and Boeing and Northrop Grumman. There are over 1,000 of them registered and working in Afghanistan right now. For USAID contractors or development contractors, there's about 100. So we're going down an order of magnitude. And these are, Chemonics, Creative, DAI, serving the development organization. But if you just talk about the pure private sector companies that are serving the Afghan people, there's about 10 companies. These are, US companies that are, in the market in Afghanistan that are not directly tied to the US military or the US development efforts. So the challenge that I see biggest in Afghanistan is converting this 1,000 companies and retaining some of them, these companies, and focusing more on this to grow, convert the Afghan economy from the past 20 years, it's been military development aid, to a private sector, a genuine company that's working regardless of the US military presence. And that goes directly to the question that was asked about how, what the challenge would be and how we can retain those US companies. And I think the opportunity is there. Facebook, for example, used tremendously the technology. Afghanistan has a very, very young population. Over 70% of our population is under the age of 25. And so great opportunities for technology. They learn very, very quickly to work on that. We talk about mining. So there's opportunities, tremendous opportunities for mining companies, Exxon, Chevron, many other US companies to come and work on that. Deliveries, now with COVID, of course, deliveries increasing. And so companies like Amazon, TaskRabbit, they can do services or goods remotely. So the opportunities are tremendous, and the infrastructure is growing. The laws and regulations are very, very open, very, very generous to foreign investment. There's no restriction on capital, and so forth. But the idea is, Afghanistan is very, very quickly going to come from this screen down to this screen. And so we need to make sure that transition is not too dramatic, which will, be very difficult for the country to survive, going from a contract economy to a private sector, capital-based economy. So I hope that will help, and the focus is on companies that can work very, very quickly, very easily in Afghanistan here.
Excellent. We wish you very, very well, and we'll be right next to you to help and support growing this third slide and expanding. And I think the slides that you have shown are pretty much valid for every country in the region, because not only you need to retain your members, but you need to continue to grow your base and really attract more commercial partners and valid US partnerships. So we're pressed by time. So for the closing 5 minutes, I would pose a question, closing question. What are the things we as a regional AmCham group could do to better encourage the business connectivity and attract investments? We have been talking about this quite a lot, but what are the concrete, real steps that we as a network could do better to encourage this business connectivity in the region? Closing remarks, guys, less than a minute each.
Okay, okay. Nazira, well, yeah, Nazira, please go ahead.
Okay, of course, we are very interested in confident and economically stable Central Asia. And today, I'm very happy to see all my colleagues from Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Afghanistan. Hope I will see soon our colleagues from Kazakhstan. I think mostly important, as a business leaders, we should more talk about region, promote region, not only our countries, and that this will bring a benefit in the future, which means that we should start integration and the connectivity between each other. So this is my wish and our dream, probably, to grow regionally.
Thank you. Next.
I totally agree with Nazira. There have been talks about this regional chance getting together, and finally, within the last several months, we see that finally it's happening, and it's happening with the help of the USAID projects. Thank you guys, and I think now we are just on the next. We are gradually moved to the next level when we actually moved from the talking about cooperation between AmChams to actually starting the cooperation between us. And it's great that like we even these four regional AmChams, we regularly talk to each other. I think it's the second or the third in the regional conference where we participate, and it's an amazing thing that things started moving. I think we studied it, and when we collectively will join to voice the opinion of the business to regional governments, meaning there are so many opportunities for example, to organize session during TIFA, it's Trade and Investment Framework Agreement, which is US-led, or similar regional initiatives where the private sector would have a voice. So we raise the policy discussions on the higher level. I think there is a lot to be done, and it's good that we started, and we are in the right direction.
Gentlemen, you want to add to this?
Yeah, just a minute. So I totally agree with my colleagues from Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan, and we need to, as an AmCham, we need to push forward the agenda set, and with the help of international financial institutions and international development organizations. So we need to push the regional cooperation forward. And as Tatiana mentioned, that we already taken some steps. We are working on that. Besides that, I think we need to think about what AmCham can do actually in general and regional level is like push the ombudsman institution, further to the regional level. So to have that representation of business voices like in those like high level. To create that regional platform to interact more, to be more, to connect our businesses in the region together, especially local ones, to give them a chance so they can cooperate with each other, visit each other's market and invest. And besides, I think as an AmCham, there's like one regional component is missing is that, there's like not a proper or reliable business news channel where, for example, all businesses in Central Asia can rely on, from getting the information. I think that those are like some of the additions I would like to make to my colleagues' proposals.
Thank you. There's a fear that will be cut in exactly right now, but Cesar, real quickly. You're still there? Maybe not.
Yes, I'm still here. So I think the one thing I wanted to mention in the 1 second before we're cut off is a regional free trade agreement. So you've heard about the new one that just came out in Asia, in the Far East Asia, and then Europe, of course, has a free trade with the European Union. You have North America, but there's nothing in the middle. Yes, you know, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan have a free trade zone, but the Central Asian countries, you know, we're all in our own little kingdom. We don't have a free trade agreement between ourselves. And so if we could start this, that would be fantastic.
Excellent closing of our session. Thank you, guys. Let's build a regional Central Asia Free Trade Union, and that's the beginning of it. I would like to round of applause, please. Join me as a real conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For those of you interested in the next session, please stay tuned. 15 minutes break, and there will be a local Afghanistan perspective to business opportunity with Central Asia following in 15 minutes. Stay on the channel. Thank you guys for participating, and see you soon. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a good day.
and I hope we will all enjoy this conversation. I'm very excited to meet you all, and hopefully it will be great talk.
Thank you very much, Matan. Good morning to everyone, and I hope you're all doing well. And welcome, Mr. Hashimi, Mr. Hojjat, and other colleagues, Mr. Payam Aziz, and my other friends from ACCI and DEI UESIT, and other colleagues, which I cannot identify them very well. Good morning and greetings from Bostan, South Afghanistan.
Thank you. I think we can start. It's right 10:15 by Tashkent time, and good morning, dear friends. Good morning, participants of wonderful anniversary, I would say, trade forum, Central Asian Trade Forum, that is happening 10 times in a row. It's great to have you all on this wonderful panel on the third day of this trade forum. And our panel talk is named, our topic of our conversation is a local Afghan perspective to business opportunities in Central Asia with Central Asian countries. I am very excited. My name is Hikmat Abdurrahmanov. I'm connecting to you from Tashkent. I cannot call it sunny Tashkent, unfortunately, this morning. It's very windy and snowy, but very much optimistic still. I am the entrepreneur and a person who is doing business regionally and internationally, and also a founder of Team University, which opened this year. And I hope that we'll have a wonderful conversation. Our organizers gave us a wonderful time slot and very good selection of people who can, I think, clearly and exactly represent the perspective from Afghan culture, Afghan community, Afghan society in various ways. If you allow me, I would introduce all the panel participants and by their names. I know that a big part of them are sitting in one office and some of them are another, but please give me a shake of your hand so at least we will know who exactly is speaking. So I will start with Mr. Syed Zaman Hashimi, who is CEO of Afghan International Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Please give me a sign who that is so I can, me and all the participants. Okay, great. In very much center of this auditorium, I can see Mr. Syed Zaman Hashimi, who is the CEO of Afghan International Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Right after I introduce all the names, I would like all the participants to have 2 minutes of their introduction. Although I have these bios, but I'm sure that they would pick whatever is the most important from their bios because of the limitations in time. And then we would jump into the conversation. So the next panel participant is Mr. Naeem Atarud, who is the CEO of Bostan Sabs Agriculture Company Ltd. Limited. Okay, great. So thank you very much, Mr. Naeem Atarud. The third participant is Mr. Shoaib Rahim, who is the researcher and analyst of Zabuli Research Center. Okay, we have a sign. Wonderful. Thank you very much, Mr. Shoaib. The next participant is Mr. Hojjat Fazli, the CEO of AACC, Afghan International Chamber of Commerce. Very similar name, but a different one. And I think, yes, we have a sign from a gentleman in a blue suit. That's wonderful. Thank you very much, Mr. Hojjat Fazli. We have Mr. Abdulwahid Abdul Khalikov from Uzbekistan. This is Trans Turkestan company. Is Mr. Abdulwahid Abdul Khalikov present? I don't see him. I hope organizers can clarify whether my compatriot from Uzbekistan is present or not.
He will join soon.
Okay, he will. Oh, I think that was the gentleman who mentioned that he is in a traffic jam, which is currently a new reality for Tashkent, which was not previously. but now having traffic jam is very much similar situation to Almaty and Moscow. Unfortunately, we have that. All right, we have two more participants, and I would like to name them as well. This is Mr. Jamil Rahimi, who is the representative of Tak Dry Fruit, and he's present. Yes, I can see him. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Yes. Thank you for being with us on this panel. And finally, last but not least, we have Mr. Farhat, who is the Vice President of Jamshid Ramin Limited. Do we have him? Please give me a sign whether we have this participant or not.
Hikmat, he is not here. He will join soon.
Okay, he will join soon as well. Wonderful. Okay, so we have how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 participants who are present, and we have more, and we have 2 more coming. If you allow me, I would like to give you 2 minutes each to present yourself and introduce yourself in terms of the context, in terms of our conversation, and whatever you think is important for our today's panel discussion. Please, who would start, or we'll go just by the order I introduced, whichever is convenient. Please take the floor, show the initiative, and let's kick off this introduction series. Let's start then with Mr. Saeed Zaman Hashimi. I think we'll go one by one. Please, Mr. Saeed, would you mind to give us 2 minutes of your introduction in the context of our conversation this morning?
Thank you so much. It's a good pleasure and good honor to be in this great trade forum. And of course, thank you for providing this great opportunity for us as the Afghan private sector leaders to attend this forum and present ourselves, and of course the opportunities that we are having in Afghanistan. I'm the CEO of the Afghanistan Chamber of Commerce and Investment, the largest and the oldest chamber in the country. So the Chamber of Commerce present throughout Afghanistan and having offices in 26 provinces of the country. Of course, we are the promoter and for the private sector of the country. And of course, we see great opportunities and potential opportunities exist in the country to connect Central Asia with the Southeast Asia to Afghanistan. And we also work toward regional connectivity and trying to put the private sector of Afghanistan in a position that can ease trade and transit between Central Asia and Southeast Asia. So yes, we see that the Afghanistan strategic and geopolitical location that, of course, can be transit hub between Central Asia and Southeast Asia, and that would provide an opportunity to connect the resource-rich Central Asia to the Southeast Asia with the population of 1.5 billion people, and a great opportunity for the Central Asian countries and the Afghanistan to turn into as a hub to connect Afghanistan, of course, to the region. Thank you.
I apologize. Yeah, sorry. I would like to announce a couple of housekeeping announcements that would allow our conversation to be even more embracing in terms of the language. So first of all, this session is being recorded. So, and it can be available for those who would like to watch this conversation later on the website, on the forum's website and the YouTube channel. This is the announcement number 1. The announcement number 2, I would like to encourage each of our participants to stay muted while they don't communicate. So we don't have disturbances. The number 3 announcement, there is a simultaneous interpretation available. For that, you need to look at the little globe sign at the bottom of your Zoom screen. This is a wonderful information provided by the technical team. So you both can actually watch it through YouTube in English or Russian. So, and the technical team will drop the link chat to access the broadcasted video. And last but not least, there's a technical live support chat box and on the forum website. So whoever from the attendees or other participants have any questions, please write to those chat box, technical support chat box. That's all in terms of the housekeeping announcements. I apologize for interrupting, but let me provide the floor to Mr. Naeem Atarut, the CEO of Bustan Sabs Agriculture Company Limited. Your kind introduction, please.
Thank you very much, everyone. I am Naeem Atarut, Chief Executive Officer of Bustan Sabs Agriculture Company, one of the leading agriculture companies in Afghanistan. We are mainly active in producing different varieties of fresh fruits and vegetables, as well as production of juice concentrate, dried fruit processing, as well as we are the first private sector company that launched the first agriculture radio station in Afghanistan, which mainly focuses on the new tactics of agriculture and irrigation and livestock, as well as we have one of the modern pack houses in Afghanistan, which we daily pack 10 to 15 metric tons of different varieties of fresh fruits and vegetables, as well as we own our own cold storages with different compartmentalized sections, as well as we have our own research and commercial farm located in Afghanistan. Also, we are one of the biggest producers of juice concentrate and tomato paste. We have a channel of 1,500 contract farming channel with more than 1,500 farmers across Afghanistan, and we are in contact with them on a daily basis and receive their products and sort them, pack them, and ship them to the customers.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Mr. Atarut. Wonderful introduction. I am sure that we'll have very fruitful and practical conversation after all participants introduce themselves. We will jump into our Q&A and our conversation. Thank you very much again. And let me provide the floor to Mr. Shoaib Ibrahim.
Sure. Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here and part of this wonderful panel. My name, as you said, is Shoaib Ibrahim, and if I go back to my area of work and area of interest, so there are two perspectives I would like to highlight. As a practitioner, I've been working in Afghanistan, and my area of work has mostly been rural development, urban development, private sector development, and reforms, economic reforms. Along with that, my areas of research are mostly Afghan economy and regional political economy, and I've been regularly writing for national and international newspapers and trying to contribute whatever I understand as a leader, the dynamics of Afghan economy and regional political economy. I'm glad to be here and looking forward to listening to some new wonderful ideas today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Shoaib. The technical team is asking us to kindly be closer to the microphone so we can hear your voice even more clearly. And now we will provide the floor to Mr. Fajat Fazli, please.
Well, thank you very much, Hikmat Abdurrahmanov and the rest of the participants. This is Fajat Fazli. I'm Chief Executive of International Chamber of Commerce in Afghanistan. We basically represent the International Chamber of Commerce in Paris, and that's an international organization represented in over 130 countries across the globe. We are actively participating in cross-border trade, promoting cross-border trade in Afghanistan, especially with Central and South Asia. We are providing technical support for the government of Afghanistan and private sector in terms of standardization of international trade and promoting exports. I'm looking forward to a fruitful discussion today, and it's of course a pleasant time to discuss the opportunities between Central and South Asia, and where Afghanistan could also be a central point in terms of connectivity. So looking forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hajat Fazli. Do we have Mr. Abdul Wahid Abdul Khaliq on board or not yet? If not, I will provide the floor to our next participant, Mr. Jamil Rahimi, right?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for joining organization these meetings. My name is Jamil Rahimi from TALK Dry Fruit, General Director of TALK Dry Fruit Company. Our company is located in Mazar Sharif. We are manufacturer and exporter for dry fruit and vegetable. We are exporting the worldwide European country, America, Canada, Australia, Turkey, or more countries.
Factories in Afghanistan.
Yes. Yeah. Also, we're doing the same business in manufacturing in Uzbekistan also. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jamil Rahimi. It seems that we have all introductions made. We have two more participants who are currently missing, but hopefully they can join soon. But while we start this conversation of Afghanistan's perspective, doing business with Central Asian countries, namely Uzbekistan and other participants, unfortunately, we have only representatives of Afghanistan and Uzbekistan at this panel. But I would like and encourage our participants not to limit ourselves to these two countries, but really speak broader about Central Asia. And as an introduction point, I just would like to actually recall to myself when I started to learn about Afghanistan in terms of not just let's say, a student of the university understanding, or the school participant where I saw the map, and we would know that we have an Afghanistan, a neighboring country with whom we have 140 kilometers of common border, and some of the general knowledge I had about Afghanistan. But really, as a young business person, as an active participant of the regional conversation, I was invited to USA as a participant of KAMKA Forum, which started in 2011. And that was the first time I met an Afghan representative. That was Sami Mahdi, who is a good friend of mine. Later on, through this platform, like KAMKA Forum, with the moderation of Professor Frederick Starr, later on, I joined another regional network, which is called CELA, where I had found other very wonderful, talented friends from Afghanistan. I realized that there's untapped opportunities between Central Asian countries and Afghanistan. And actually, we should consider Afghanistan as a part of Central Asia, Greater Central Asia. That concept also introduced by Frederick Starr. And recently, while preparing myself for this panel conversation, I saw a quote from our president, Shavkat Mirziyoyev, who actually gave the same definition. And I would like to quote him here when he said that we have to see Afghanistan as an integral part of Central Asia. That, I think, gives context in terms of really understanding where Afghanistan lies in terms of relations and in terms of cultural, trade, political relations. And it's wonderful that we have all prerequisites and all necessary factors of success. At the same time, we know that I was looking at thanks to Alfia, the country director of USAID in Uzbekistan, she gave me a wonderful list of brochures, data on the trade, transit, cooperation between Afghanistan and Central Asian countries. I actually was surprised to see that we could achieve more. Definitely we could achieve more in terms of turnover. Yes, it's increasing. I saw that Uzbekistan is exporting current turnover between Uzbekistan and Afghanistan from the start of this year was around $600 million. But the ambition was, again, this is something that I read recently, ambition is to reach it to $2 billion within 3 years. And just yesterday, in the Gazeta.uz, the biggest and the widest popular news source, I saw that Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, and Pakistan, they have submitted their application to International Financial Corporation of Development, an application for funding of the Mazar-e-Sharif and Kabul railroad, which is an essential part of, as we know, railroad is an essential part of infrastructure of any trade, economic relations. So saying this, I would like to, again, pose this question to you colleagues who are in various fields, and we have seen that we have representatives of private sector, business owners, we have analytics, we have researchers, we have people from various contexts who can actually provide us with the information about impediments. What has to be overcome? What, in terms of cross-border trade, in terms of investment, what could you contribute? What could you say? Because again, referring to our organizers, they would like to see an outcome of this conversation, an outcome of this panel discussion to be very practical, meaning that since this discussion is being recorded, this can be then analyzed and maybe some roadmap, maybe some checklist can be produced so we can actually go to the, let's say, international donors, to international organizations, including USAID, and kindly request them to assist us in one way or another. So please, the floor is open. Contribute your opinion, what can be done and what should be done in terms of increasing our cooperation, in terms of connectivity, in terms of getting rid of some obstacles and impediments, starting from visas, maybe some other connectivity issues that you think is vital and important. If there is someone who would like to volunteer, or otherwise I would go through the same order of list and ask Mr. Syed Zaman Hashimi to kick off.
Thank you so much again. Yes, I think you have raised a great issues that, of course, it's important for the connectivity, regional connectivity in Afghanistan, and of course, connecting Afghanistan to the Central Asia. This is an important topic nowadays, of course, at the government level and at the private sector of Afghanistan. Since we are having a great trade and transit relationship with Central Asian countries, the first point that I was going through some of the documents and notes that I had on my desk this morning, as I realized, as you also mentioned that part, that of course Afghanistan is not considered being part of the Central Asia, and you have rightly mentioned that Afghanistan has to be, of course, an integrated part of Central Asian countries. So this has proved to us some times ago that we've been, doing, of course, importing the very essential product from outside the country during the COVID-19, and we faced many challenges bringing food products from Central Asian countries that we were not considered to be part of the many regional agreements that the Central Asian countries have among themselves. So we realized that we need to strengthen this trade relationship between Afghanistan and Central Asian countries. So that's first thing. And second thing, that of course Afghanistan has entered in many agreements, especially that corridor, Lapis Lazuli corridor, that which goes to Uzbekistan, and of course Kazakhstan and Azerbaijan and all the way to Turkey. That's one of the important regional connectivity that, of course, initiated by the government of Afghanistan and, of course, together with Uzbekistan and other countries. But we were still facing a lot of challenges doing trade and business through that corridor, not having many regional agreements in place, like preferential tariff agreements, like bilateral trade agreements and multilateral trade agreements and transit agreements between Afghanistan and those countries to ease the transit through these countries and take the products of Afghanistan. And yes, we have a good level of commercial partnership with Uzbekistan that I have seen that $500 million import from Uzbekistan, and of course very minimum amounts of export to Uzbekistan shows that we still need to do a lot to develop a commercial relationship between these countries. There are many technical issues remain in place that need to be resolved to ease the trade and transit between Central Asia and Afghanistan. As you also mentioned, there are huge potential opportunities exist in Afghanistan, especially untapped mineral resources in the country and geostrategic location of the country, which can connect Central Asia to Southeast Asia, and of course resource rich Central Asian countries need to take their mineral resources, their energy resources. There are many other resources to the market, which is in Southeast Asia, through Afghanistan. Therefore, it's very important that we have to have a regional connectivity, and that is very important, and the very right time for a cooperation between Central Asian countries and Afghanistan. So I have many other issues, technical barriers exist on the way of connecting Afghanistan to Central Asia, or at least doing, connecting Afghanistan to the European market through Central Asia. There are many challenges exist, so we can maybe come back to that and discuss the barriers and technical issues that how we can resolve to get Afghanistan have easy access to the Eastern Europe market.
Thank you very much, Mr. Syed Zaman Hashimi. This is exactly what I also read. I would like to share the name of this research, which is called Advanced Afghan Trade. I was looking through the materials and I saw a very interesting EU-funded research where exactly as you mentioned, the obstacles were listed. Among them, what you have already said, but plus to that is the a visa challenge. A lot of Afghan traders are referring to still definitely there are improvements, because I can imagine that Afghan business people would even have a hard time getting a visa even 5 years ago. Now we can see Afghan business people, I mean, pre-pandemics time, obviously pandemics have made life even more difficult, but overall they mentioned visa, they mentioned tariffs, because since Uzbekistan is still not yet part of WTO, some procedures, border procedures are not yet streamlined, and dispute resolution practices and many others were listed in this research. I will probably later send you the link, so whoever is interested to have a look. While I can see some participants who joined our conversation prior to giving a floor to our next panelist.
Listed here, but I didn't mention all those. I didn't go through the list. Otherwise, I could go one by one through the technical issues, because we're getting updated information from our traders every day, from border crossing, from agreements, from computation, the local market, the non-inclusion of Afghanistan in the Central Asian agreements. Of course, there have the Central Asian independent state agreements and commercial agreements and all these issues. So anyways, maybe we can come back later if there is a chance to speak about it.
Exactly. As we said, thank you very much, Mr. Syed, for contributing that. And I'm sure you have the full list of all the obstacles. And it is great that we have very transparent and open conversation, because we have common goals. And we can see that it's definitely a win-win cooperation. And I hope we can actually facilitate further, more technical, but very useful conversation of how this can be brought to the high level of conversations and resolved. While we continue this conversation, I just would like to introduce and give a floor to Mr. Abdulwahid Abdulkhalikov, who just joined us several minutes ago. And I would like Mr. Abdulwahid Abdulkhalikov just to say 2 words, literally maybe 1 minute, to introduce yourself, so all the panel participants at least get acquainted. Please. Your microphone, please.
Добрый день, уважаемые.
Hello.
dear Hitmat, hello Almaty, dear participants of the 10th Jubilee Trade Forum, our respectful Afghani colleagues. I represent transport sector of Uzbekistan from 1978, and up to today, we're actively involved in this sector, and we hope for further cooperation with our Afghani colleagues. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abduhalikov. I remind that we have simultaneous translation in case it is needed, and I'm sure it will be needed. It can be requested from the technical team, and so we continue our conversation. I would like to pose the same question, it's an open question definitely, to our colleagues from Afghanistan. Again, we can go one by one, or in case you have some other preferences, please do so. So the question is the same. How do we increase engagement of Afghan businesses? What has to be done in terms of connectivity? Where do you see the biggest potential development between Central Asia and Afghanistan? Please, from your professional background that you represent, please give us a few highlights about this. Thank you. Let's go to Mr. Naim Atarut, and I'm sure he has a lot of great ideas to contribute.
Thank you very much, Hikmat. I would like to discuss this wonderful topic from a broader and different perspective, not only related to the areas of activities that Bostan Sabzi is doing right now. As we all know that regional economic integration mainly focuses on deepening connectivity, which emphasizes on public and private infrastructure links that bind the countries, the people, and all the nations one to another. Discussing the Central, South, and Southwest Asia, first and foremost, this involves transport links via road, rail, shipping, and air that are central to facilitating cross-border trade and the exchange of goods, services, and people. The second one is energy infrastructure from a regional grid and natural gas pipelines to the transfer of new kinds of renewable energy with the potential to bring the abundant energy resources of Central Asia to the far more populous and energy deficient countries of South Asia, such as Pakistan, India, Nepal, and other countries. And the very good hub here would be Afghanistan, which is already discussed between the different government level officials. Area for deepening infrastructure, including state-of-the-art fiber optic cables that will enable the steady expansion of information technologies and play a key role in making Afghanistan both an internet exchange and broader regional trade and transit hub at the heart of Asia. While significant efforts has been made under current regional platforms towards boosting regional economic cooperation and connectivity, progress up until now has been nominal, unfortunately. Central, South, and Southwest Asia remain three of the least integrated regions in the world if we take a clear attention to this part. Which means that by low level of intra-regional and among each other inter-regional trade. There are very limited trades between these countries, and fortunately, all the countries located geographically in these areas has different potentials that can increase the level of economic and integration activities between each other. Certainly, an episodic lack of regional security, among other factors, has contributed to this outcome, unfortunately, which is a very big concern for all the nations and all the countries in this area. However, there is immense potential for increasing trade, energy, and information connectivity across the wider region. Investment and infrastructure enhances economic growth, job creation, and standard of living through improved connectivity and production networks, bolsters environmental sustainability by reducing carbon emissions and building a more climate resilient economy, and promotes social development through enhanced public service like education and health. This means that we have a lot of areas to work with each other. And fortunately, I'm very much glad that this initiative is taken by USAID and both from Afghanistan and Uzbekistan. And I'm glad and I hope that these conversations continue so that we come to a conclusion and we find a solution for the problems that currently the region, Central Asia, South Asia, and Afghanistan as a hub can easily work together to develop the economies of different countries working here. The question is that how can governments move toward unleashing the full potential for interregional connectivity as a juncture when the need for economic growth and poverty reduction are as pronounced as ever across the wider region, and what role can the existing regional platforms and their member states and civil society and businesses play in this regard? This is a question which needs to be questioned, the role of government, the role of private sector, the role of civil society, that each rule needs to be clarified, needs to be crystallized, needs to be quantified so that all these major stakeholders understand their part and take the part to do better and better for the integration, for the economic integration, and to develop and to increase the economies of the nations who are here. So if I have 1 more minute, I will continue. If not, I can stop.
Mr. Naim Atarut, thank you very much. Can we please temporarily stop here, because I'm sure we'll have a lot of questions to you and to other distinguished participants, because in terms of timing, I just would like to remind that this conversation is, thanks to technical solutions, very interactive. I can see our live chat and I can see a lot of interesting comments and questions, and I hope I can address them to you later on. Some of them will be, I will read now because they will give us a better context. Specifically, I can share that I can say that we are this is not just regional conversation, and I can see that we have greetings from Manpreet Singh, who is the president of Indian Chamber of International Business. So India is watching and participating. I would like to also read that some questions that would give us the context of what is still not clear or what challenges we have. So one of the questions from the participant, Jan Tomzik, is what problems do you have getting your products across border crossing? How can the problems get solved? Asks Shukriya. Shukriya is greeting. Yeah, sorry, I thought that this is his name. Okay, and there's a suggestion as well. I suggest, says Jan, I suggest Central Asian countries and Afghanistan harmonize the transit for goods, laws and rules. Interesting suggestion. Yeah, so I would like to encourage all the participants who are watching this conversation to contribute through your question or comments to our live chat. While we do that, I would like to provide the floor to Mr. Shoaib Rahim to provide his contribution, to give his views on our topic, above mentioned topic, which is being actively discussed now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been really insightful discussion so far, and a lot as a reader for me to learn and hear from people from the field. I'd like to speak from two perspectives, how I see things on the field, since that has been one of my areas, and what is being done in terms of research. And in the meantime, I'll take care I don't sound very bookish. What we have been seeing, like long ago, we have been talking about interdependence, and that concept of production, domestic production and domestic consumption and domestic distribution has long been buried. Similarly, the issue of trade is not just export, but it's two-way traffic export. It means both import and trade, import and export. But unfortunately, although we have realized that interdependence is what defines the relationships of the countries today, not much is being done, particularly in the region where we live in Central Asia and Afghanistan particularly. If you go back, if you go slightly back in the history, you would come to know that like after early 90s change in the dynamics of the region, and then post 2001 changes in the political scenario of Afghanistan and security scenario of Afghanistan. Over the last 20 years, a lot of discussions have revived, and a lot is being talked about in terms of connectivity and in terms of improving trade ties between the Central Asian republics and Afghanistan. But unfortunately, if you see it, those discussions are too redundant now, because we are still talking about things that we used to talk about 20 years back. For instance, we are still talking about benefits of TAPI, we are still talking about benefits of CASA, while significant progress in terms of implementation and actually benefiting from these resources. Pakistan continues to import from all over the world fuel and natural gas. India is one of the biggest importers of fuel, gas, coal, and they import it from United States and other countries, while in their backyard they have rich reserves in Central Asia. And the sad part is that we are still talking about redundant issues and redundant problems that are not allowing us to get through it. What we have to, what I see as a missing link here is the belief in how things could change from Afghanistan's perspective. The way we see things from outside world is a lot of uncertainty, and that uncertainty, whether how things would roll out in Afghanistan, what is going to be the next scenario for Afghanistan, it has taken us 2 years, and Afghanistan is still there, and we have wasted almost 20 years that we could do in order to reconnect this region, because starting from 90s, after all that, not only Afghanistan disconnected from rest of the world, but Central Asia. And we both, Central Asia and Afghanistan, are strongly interdependent. Even our problems are similar. Economic diversification, export diversification, and most importantly, our landlocked strategic position. And given so much closeness in terms of culture, in terms of productivity, and in terms of problem, despite that, very little efforts have been made. We see that in the rest of the world, free trade is rising, and yesterday big news came up where regional comprehensive economic cooperation partnership was signed between Southeast Asian countries, including Australia, New Zealand, and Japan. And now these 14 countries, which contribute to 1.2 billion population of the world, and then moving on to 30% of trade and 30% of global GDP is contributed here. We are still stuck in those basic issues. So what we need to move on from here, and how we can get out of the situation, that we can make sure that our economies benefit from new changes that we are looking forward to. I believe one of the issues that I see as a reader and as a researcher is that not much is being written about these issues, because it is the academics who are giving us the guidelines, the perspectives. Other than you mentioned Frederick Scott, only a couple of papers that you see from prominent people who are writing about them and making sure how we could utilize the potential here. Similarly, the duration of the papers, if you check it, you'll find papers 3 years, 4 years old, and not much is being written. I believe it is the academics who are going to pave the way for us, who are going to give us the innovative ideas on how we could increase the connectivity and how we could make sure that different initiatives that are started, they implement. I would like to quote the example of CBTA, cross-border trade agreement between Afghanistan and Kyrgyzstan, and where a lot was discussed, a lot of preparations were made, but you don't hear much about that. I was talking to relevant departments in Afghanistan, and even they are not talking much about that. We have TIR convention in place. It would solve a lot of problems that we have, but unfortunately, even on that front, reforms are not flowing slowly. Maybe there is an issue of I believe that things might not roll up the way they see it, and I believe it is the responsibility of academics to make the policymakers, particularly the people from political circles, on how we could address the underlying challenges that we have. And my strong recommendation would be that next year, when we have a panel of researchers on various topics where they come up and present their work at this platform. Similarly, funds should be utilized to universities and to academic institutions where more research is done to sort out our problems. I'd like to quote one last small example in terms of marble. Uzbekistan and other Central Asian republics, they are importing marble from Italy, while Afghanistan has rich minerals of marbles here in Afghanistan. Now, why would you import it all the way from Italy while we have rich resources here? Now, that needs investment opportunities here, that means processing opportunities here, that means border facilitation possibilities there, where we could benefit from a lot of the experiences that we have, a lot of potential that we have, whether that is in mineral or hydrocarbons or in the energy sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shaib. This is wonderful. Wonderful contribution, and I totally agree with you that with this expression, I would say that if there is no digital trace, if there is no digital track of issues, challenges, analytics about our region, about this cooperation, about overall, let's say, challenges, definitely we will not progress. So I totally agree. And by the way, I just would like to say that several business people have established a first private entrepreneurship university in Tashkent, including myself. It is called Team University. And we would like to encourage any type of exchange in terms of research, in terms of joint articles being written. We have professors and academicians from all over the world. We have 2 Indian professors, we have 1 European professor, 1 British plus 1 American. So we would encourage on the platform, this is English speaking British Uzbek University, Team University, would like to encourage exchange of ideas. And I made a note for myself, by the way, next week we are having Global Entrepreneurship Week held plus in Uzbekistan as well. And I will definitely encourage this to be actually continued in terms of conversation about Afghanistan and Central Asian economic and not only economic cooperation. I would like to remind about limits of times. We have so many interesting participants, but very limited time. So I would like to provide the floor to our next participant, Mr. Hojat Fazli, to also contribute, say several minutes for you to contribute from your point of view. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hikmat. As just said by Mr. Shaib Rahim and other previous speakers, I think Afghanistan and Central Asian countries face common challenges due in part of their landlocked geographic location and, of course, the need for greater economic diversification. So the region is also far from big business hubs or big business markets. And that is a relatively small population is also in this region, particularly in the Central Asia, and of course in Afghanistan. And they also have small market sizes. Underdeveloped infrastructures and political and security challenges also to some extent exist in this region. But I think if we look at the fact that the increasing integration can bring numerous benefits, not only to Afghanistan, but also to the Central Asian republics or countries. Benefits like better employment opportunities leading to greater household purchasing power and broader and deeper linkages between Afghanistan and Central Asian countries. So I think trading can also play a crucial role in connectivity and in terms of improving the business environment between Afghanistan and Central Asia. And that's also will most immediately, for example, offer Afghanistan a northern route to Central Asia, where across the Caspian Sea to Azerbaijan and then on to Europe. This will also, and in terms of connectivity, this will also encourage Pakistan and Iran to think about their sort of like connecting to Central Asia, or finding ways to Central Asian markets, and also working on renewing their infrastructures. So despite being landlocked in Afghanistan and Central Asia, there is also great potential for making it possible to connect, as was said before, via railways and air cargos, transport, and highways. So that's like now Afghanistan is particularly focusing on, or it has this potential of not a landlocked, but rather like a land linkage or land bridge position in the region that we could utilize this. So I think if we really would like to use this untapped or untouched natural resources of Afghanistan that is estimated around $3 trillion, this could not be possible without having the strategic vision for connectivity and making it possible to make it through Europe via Central Asia. The same could also be possible, and it's quite interesting for South Asia that they would like to have access and they would like to connect with the Central Asia. So I think there are the specific benefits both for Afghanistan and Central Asian countries in terms of like economies of scale could increase local supply capacity and improve access to markets. Additionally, it could also integrate or harmonize treatment, as was said before. That's transboundary trade and issues like facilitating and regulating frameworks and policies for better trade and transit improvements. And it will also help in terms of management of shared natural resources that both Afghanistan and Central Asia have. So I think these are like the opportunities. But one thing which is much more important, I think, that we should really focus on, that's the key role of integration, of connectivity. So that should be like the core of our discussion. How could we make this possible? Either projects, we need like mega projects, but I think it's also very much important that we should focus that projects like what was said before by Mr. Hashimi, that TAPI. TAPI is, of course, that is a good initiative, that is an important one, but I think we need to execute more practical projects and in terms of energy, in terms of optic fiber and transport. Those are much more practical that we could use. And in terms of also what should be done as recommendations for governments, for private sector, for donors, I think we need to focus on at least 4 to 5 issues. One could be improving trade policies between Afghanistan and Central Asian countries. It could also be facilitating trade and transit between the two continents, particularly South and Central Asia. This is immensely important for Afghanistan to make sure that we are providing that role of making it possible for Pakistan or India to get through us into Central Asia, and for us also that Central Asian countries are able to export to Pakistan and South Asia in the long run. Third could be investing in infrastructure and connectivity. We, unfortunately, I would say, have rather damaged or low quality infrastructures in the region. Those need to be improved significantly, those need to be standardized and to make sure that we utilize it in a better way. We also need to create the right business environment, not only in terms of facilitation, but also in terms of investment. In Afghanistan and Central Asia, we have much in common culturally, historically, but also economically. We are much relevant, and we are familiar with the environment, business environment in the region. And last but not least, of course, strengthening regional economic cooperation. There are, of course, some platforms like RICA, like CARIC, and of course this one, the Central Asian Trade Forum. We need to create more of such forums. We need to increase so discussion, the rhetoric, and the topic of connectivity. So I think these are important issues that we need to look into that. So thank you, and I may come back if there is a second chance.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hojat Fazli, for a very good contribution. Prior to passing this floor to Mr. Abdulwahid Abdulkhalik, I just would like to share a story where I recently visited Termez, Surkhandarya region on the border of Uzbekistan and Afghanistan. And when I was there, I was surprised to see so many Afghan girls, boys, students, mid-professional, mid-career professionals to actually participate in different training centers in Termez. I was also surprised to see several development companies, Afghan builders, who were actually actively participating in construction works in Surkhandarya, meaning investment, meaning labor force, and that was a big surprise because not many in the region know that these kind of, as you mentioned, Mr. Hojat Fazli, interesting, ambitious projects happening. And another one is Termez Free Economic Zone. These, I think, mega projects, as you call them, also give a good visibility. While I totally agree that practicality should be very much important in these type of bilateral or regional multilateral projects and cooperations. Please, Mr. Abdulwahid Abdulkhalik, I know that we unfortunately are coming to the end of our session. It was only 1 hour, but still I would like to give this floor 2 minutes each. We have still two speakers, Abdulwahid Abdulkhalik and Mr. Jamil Rahimi. I know that being at the end of the conversation is always challenged because of the limits of time, but still, please 2 minutes, Abdulwahid, from your side.
Dear colleagues, I will try to be brief and to share my experience with regards to Afghanistan. In the last 30 years, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, and Kazakhstan created a state-of-the-art railroad network in the region. And they continue to develop together, which resulted in a possibility of having a direct access to China on the east, to the Black Sea on the west, and the Caspian Sea on the west, and the Mediterranean Sea, and traditionally to the European countries and countries of the CIS, and on southeast to Genserax, to Bapti, and the Gulf. Unfortunately, up until now, we still have not tapped into the, we haven't looked at the South, Afghanistan, and exits to the Indian Ocean, or access to the Indian Ocean, Gavada, Charbaghat, and traditionally the seaport of Karachi. I would like to, using the experience of Central Asian countries, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, to have our Afghan colleagues to be more active in this process, and given the fact that the Afghani people have three main wealths. The first one is the will of the Afghan people to be free and liberated and to have peace, and the second feature is the enormous natural resources, which can, I believe, be implemented only by developing transportation and active relations with neighboring countries. And for that, I would like to give a specific proposal. Using the many years of mutual joint business experience with our Afghan colleagues, we noticed that in the process of this business development by Afghani people and with their business partners from Central Asian countries, quite often we encounter simple challenges or obstacles for timely obtaining of business visas to different countries in the region. probably the Central Asian Trade Forum would pay attention and emphasize this or take care of this issue or consider this issue. Another relevant and promising aspect is a more active involvement of Afghani women, our sisters and daughters, in expanding businesses between Afghanistan and the countries of the Central Asia. And a lot of Afghani women and young girls are willing to set up business contacts with their colleagues from Central Asian countries. And what I suggest is for USAID projects to provide for specialized long-term business programs and training courses for Afghani entrepreneurs. And as we know, the leadership of Uzbekistan have come up with a very perspective initiative on construction of a new railroad route, Mazar-i-Sharif, Kabul, Ishavar. And I would like to take this opportunity to ask our Afghani colleagues and all the participants of the forum, Central Asian Trade Forum, to support this initiative. And in the end, I would like to thank representatives of USAID, our Afghani colleagues, and our Kazakhstani colleagues, particularly our Aijan, for the work that they have been implementing for the last 10 years and continue to be doing, which will be beneficial for all of us. And we hope that we will soon be able to see the fruits of our effective collaboration between the countries of Central Asia and Afghanistan. And dear Hikmat, thank you very much for moderating this session and giving me the opportunity to speak. If you have any questions, please, I will be willing to take them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abdulwahid Abdulkhalikov. We have met several times at USAID trade forums, specifically Central Asian trade forums, and I am always amazed by the wisdom and experience, and by the way, bright suggestions and proposals by Mr. Abdulkhalikov. And although we are already out of time, but I think we definitely should provide the floor to Mr. Rahimi, Mr. Jamil Rahimi, to give his final remarks as well on the topic. And then I would like to follow up to summarize and conduct some takeaway conclusions out of this conversation. Please, Mr. Rahimi.
Salam alaikum. Thank you very much again. I want to explain. At this moment in quarantine, the demand for dry fruit and vegetables rose up. We are trying to work with farmers directly and by USAID programs to grow our capacity. We have access to current facility in railway of Uzbekistan, which we can use to easily transport our goods worldwide market. I would like to thank the Uzbek government for giving us the access to their infrastructures. With the given opportunity, we can easily export our goods from both Uzbekistan and Afghanistan to worldwide market. We are currently working on our major project, which is related to planting and producing a large quantity of vegetable and fresh fruit with our Uzbek partner, and to use this opportunity and build a new business relation. Thank you with our Uzbek partners. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jamil, for being very concise because of the timing specifically. Colleagues, friends, I think we have created a very interesting conversation. And due to the limits of time, I would suggest that we continue this conversation offline as well, since any panel discussion, any trade forum is also a networking event. I definitely wrote to myself the new people I met from chambers of commerce of Afghanistan. Since I do business personally with in the region, we are one of the large importers of equipment and machinery to Uzbekistan. We have a very wide network of contacts, being in the international trade and business in Uzbekistan for almost 15 years. We have a wide access to small and medium enterprises in Uzbekistan. I encourage we exchange emails, exchange contacts, and actually continue this conversation. Afghanistan, being a 30 million population market, is really huge opportunity for a lot of Uzbek exporters. At the same time, I agree with Mr. Abduhalikov saying that, and Mr. Jamil Rahimi, who also gave us a very good picture of what Afghanistan has to offer to Central Asian markets. And I, prior to this panel discussion, I watched the USAID YouTube channel, and there was a wonderful video presenting economic potential of Afghanistan, about opportunities of conducting bilateral road shows, bilateral trade forums. And I think USAID's Central Asian Trade Forum is just a good platform to kick off the cooperation. But then people of, as practitioners, we definitely need to continue this opportunities and wonderful cooperation. Colleagues, I definitely wanted to continue this conversation, but I had a strict instruction from organizers to be concise and being on time. I just would like to finish this with some takeaways that I had to myself, and I'm sure you have a lot of takeaways as well, which you will definitely share. I would encourage you to share, because when we had the preparation Zoom call, I was really encouraged to make it practical and really try to bring some outcomes to this conversation. So because of the limits of time, I would like to ask you to provide them in written form. But for myself, I definitely wrote that we should try to create more digital trace, to really create some research papers on the region. I wrote to myself that there's a huge untapped potential in terms of developing transport infrastructure. And from the news that we also seen, Financial Corporation of International Development of the United States is looking forward to finance this project of that Mr. Abdulwahid Abduhalikov mentioned on the building railroad that would prospectively start in September 21, Mazar-e Sharif, Kabul. That would make it possible for Central Asian countries to get the closest access to the sea, to the seaports in Karachi and some other ports as well. I wrote a very interesting suggestion from Mr. Abduhalikov on enabling and really encouraging women entrepreneurship development, building the capacity, organizing educational courses for Afghan women. And I saw one in Termes. I think that's a wonderful project, and this definitely should be duplicated. I have also written to myself that more trading opportunities for creating additional visibility, projects in education, projects among youth, by the way. I think exchanging youth traveling to each other's countries definitely would create even more, let's say, soft power and more visibility for all of us. I remember Mr. Syed Zaman Hashemi's comments on the challenges, and we have the whole list, and I'm sure he will provide us with the whole list of the challenges that Afghan business and traders face when they actually want to enter Central Asian markets, starting from tariffs, dispute resolution, barriers to trade, border procedures, bureaucracy there at certain point, and many, many others. I also remember, and I think that's an interesting suggestion from Mr. Hojat Fazli, who said that there should be mega projects among our countries, but they should be also practical projects that would be like pillars for this cooperation. Actually, I made even more comments, but again, because of the limits of time, I would like to wrap it up. I would like to thank all the participants who were at the panel discussion, and I would like to thank all the participants who were giving their contributions in the live chat as well. Thanks to the technologies, everything is recorded, and I'm sure that we can share these links with our peers and friends. I'm sure they will also benefit from this conversation. And finally, I would like to thank organizers for creating this wonderful opportunity. First time I visited Central Asian Trade Forum was in Almaty. Thanks to the changes in Uzbekistan, recently it was in Tashkent. Because of pandemics, it's now virtual online, but I'm sure one day we'll meet in Afghanistan, and I'm sure Afghan friends will be happy to host this platform there. And again, thank you very much. I really enjoyed, and thank you all for being very active. I'm looking forward to exchange emails and continue this conversation even further. If no other comments, immediate comments, I would like to thank everyone and see you in nearest future. Hopefully we'll see you each other face to face. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ahmed. This was a wonderful opportunity to discuss things between Central Asia and Afghanistan.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Good day. Bye-bye.
До свидания. Спасибо.